Not the sports news on Africa with Romy Titus and Kevin McCallum.
So why is most athletes, some of the top athletes injured? We do have Kruger van Wyk on the line now, former New Zealand Test wicketkeeper and Momentum Proteas fielding coach. He now also forms part of Tax Cricket. Kruger, warm welcome to the show and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me, guys.
Good to have you. I mean, we've been scratching our heads. We just come out of the Betway SA20, taking a look at what happened there, and every other day we're reporting on an injury of some sort. What do we attribute this to?
Yes, it's actually a very, very good question and a very relevant topic currently in the world of cricket. If you had to ask me, my opinion is probably more based from a coach's point of view and administrative one as well. As it's just the demands on the calendar. You know, cricket used to be a seasonal sport, but it's very much progressed into a 12-month game, and the competition between international sport and also the franchise circuit, the load and the demands on players have become very, very hard to manage. So I reckon that's why we are seeing so many injuries. Look, injuries is never an exact science. Sometimes you do have freak injuries, but a lot of the time it is also because of workload and conditioning and all these types of things that play a role when it comes to injuries. But I think the workload on players these days are a lot heavier than it used to be in the past.
Definitely. But I mean, where do we kind of draw the line? Because at the end of the day, these are human beings and not robots, right? And I just think there's a fine line between, yes, we overload you and you're forever injured, but you want to play. So you come back still injured because it's competitive out there, right? Your spot is about to be taken versus... And then there's lifespan as well, Kruger. I mean, the lifespan of a cricketer, a footballer, a rugby player. There's all of that comes into the fold. So you're walking this tight rope, but there needs to be a balance.
Absolutely. And I think there's not just a solution where it's only the player who's in charge of managing his body, but I do think world cricket, and this includes the ICC, it includes international boards as well as the leagues. We need to sit down in the best interest of players and the game to determine what is a healthy calendar, what is a healthy 12-month calendar. In order, our biggest asset is still quality cricketers. So you want to make sure that your best cricketers are on the park as often as they can be. And how do we schedule a calendar that is beneficial for both international cricket and the leagues and for player health and safety as well? So, and those are decisions which I feel is almost long overdue to be had by a lot of people and just to sit down and talk around these things.
Is it an easy conversation to have? Because I always think money talks, right? The game has got to go on. We've got to have Test cricket. Yeah. We've got to have the SA20. We've got to have. I almost feel like the voice of the players when united or if united would be louder. But is there something, like that where the players actually stand up?
Yes and no, because the player, like you said, will also end up, how can I put this? That they also have a short lifespan for earning capacity. And we respect and understand that. But I do think it can't just be a player's decision. I think there are a lot of stakeholders with regards to the game of cricket and where international boards and franchise as well. So it is probably going to have to be a discussion between player representatives, international boards and the ICC, as well as your league owners and organizers around this. But it most probably won't just be a player situation, because a player has the right to also turn down not to play in leagues in order to be healthy and fit and to manage his own workloads. And that is also not really happening a lot of the time. So they also choose to play what they want to play in. So that is what is causing a lot of injuries as well.
Are you a fan of enforced rest periods? I mean, Sia Khaleesi is now going through 5 weeks of no rugby. I think they've rested Kakisa Rabada in the past from playing some leagues and some games. Are you a fan of enforced rest periods for players?
Yes, I am. I think it is much easier to be done in countries like Australia, India, and, for instance, England, because they've got a wider player base and a bigger player pool. When you're in a country where we have a growing player pool, which is very important to generate in these modern times. You can only almost allow and afford players a conditioning window when you have got good depth around your cricket. But if you want to protect your assets like a Kagiso Rabada, like a Siya Kolisi, and prolong the longevity of their careers, and also when they play that they're enjoying their cricket and that they are fit and healthy, then I'm definitely all in favor of it.
You talk about that growing player pool. Would you say that the cricket playing pool is growing effectively and fast enough to be able to allow players to take the rest that they need, as opposed to, oh my gosh, time is ticking, oh, age is not on my side, oh, money?
It's all great questions, and I do think a big effort is being made to grow the player pool. Sometimes the risks with this is that you end up exposing young players to opportunities they're most probably not always ready for as yet. And you just hope that they get through these opportunities in order for your player pool to grow. But there's definitely a conscious effort being made to grow a player pool to allow for a rotation system where guys can also have a conditioning window.
With that said, are we blooding young cricketers the right way as well, so that by the time they get here, I guess the load isn't just, okay, it's physios, it's doctors, it's please sit, I guess it's the player who also has to take onus for their own injuries and understand their bodies and manage themselves as athletes. The onus is on them as well, but are we blooding that type of cricketer in today's era?
Yes, it's $1 million question, because no two players are the same. And when it comes to a player understanding his body, I listened to a great interview last night about KG speaking about him understanding his body. And to ask a 21-year-old to understand his body is a very difficult concept to understand. So for you to ask him to manage his body, it's probably more an educational period for him to put him in as many conditioning opportunities so that he can get to learn his body. But I can assure you, all efforts are made in order to educate, in order to develop, in order to grow that player pool according to the different needs of players. So there's probably not an umbrella approach where you treat all these young players exactly the same. There's a tailored approach around all of them. And it's something you probably just have to go through in order to find out what works for different players.
Yeah, I mean, you have enough experience, Krier. I mean, if you had a magic wand and from what it is you've seen that you're hoping to change, and I think you're in the perfect place to be able to do that at Tux, what would you change? You know, if it's from top tier cricket up there to maybe grassroots, what would you change? So much.
I don't think it's I don't think it's just one thing, so because you've got the mental side, you've got the academic side, for instance, as well, and you just want healthy foundations all the way through from the age of 16 with regards to technical, physical, mentally, academically even, so that there are healthy foundations, because when there is, your player pool will grow in a healthy manner. And yeah, like I say to you, a lot of these things, a lot of attention is being paid to them, but we just want to get them right earlier. You're not going to get them right every time, but you want to get the management around players right a lot earlier in their lives as well. So I would say throwing healthy foundations with regards to holistic development is the one thing that I think is crucially important to players.
I mean, SA20 obviously just ended and also just being an absolute huge success in terms of fan turnout. That is also where we saw a long list of injuries for fast bowlers as well. But for you, what do you take of the SA20 and just this new life that is breathed into cricket here at home?
Can I be slightly arrogant for 5 seconds?
Go ahead.
It was so fantastic to be part of the winning team. So I absolutely loved being part of the SA20. I think it gives young people something to aspire to look up to and think, I want to be a Protea cricketer. But how fantastic is such a domestic competition as well, with regards to exposure, to regards with the quality of cricket being played. I mean, the crowds that came out was unbelievable, and the spirit around which these games were played was fantastic. Where people now talk around, this is most probably the second best league tournament in the world after the IPL, and it's a huge feather in South Africa's cap for that we can produce a tournament such as this.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I mean, and you talked about the good spirit. When Adrian Beryl from Sunrisers Eastern Cape, after the final, he said that you guys were the best team. The MICT, Cape Town, were the best team in the league.
It means a lot coming from AD. He's a fantastic coach, and Sunrisers played wonderful cricket the last 3 years. So it meant a lot coming from him too, and also the man's humility is just something to be respected and admired, you know. So it meant a lot coming from him, and the guys played good cricket. Listen, the lads were incredible. So it was just heartwarming to be part of it and to see how happy they were, and families are part of it, and the rest. So really happy.
Kreer, it's been amazing chatting. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. Much appreciated.
Thanks for your cool show. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Kruger van Wyk there chatting to us. And our burning question, I guess, answered, which is why the injuries? Why so many players? What is going on? And I think that overloaded calendar is not only cricket. It's football as well. At the end of the day, it's rugby as well, if I can speak for these three sporting codes. But I know particularly in football, you see, I mean, take a look at a Sundowns, for example. They're heading into a Club World Cup. It's CAF. It's the domestic league. It's a lot.
Well, Liverpool have 5 games in 15 days coming up.
What?
5 games
in 15 days. When do they rest?
Who knows? You know, it's probably good that we're out of the FA Cup, but I mean, that's still, there's 5 games in 15 days coming
and
up.
Also the, was it extra time?
Yeah.
That they wanted to cut?
They're looking at cutting that for the Champions League.
Correct.
Yeah, so they still have it in other tournaments, but yeah.
It's saving time. Nice. It's not saving enough time.
Not at all.
And we're out of time.
Aha, again.
On this Valentine's Day. We are back again on Monday. If you do celebrate, have yourselves an amazing day. Till Monday. Cheerio.
Listen live and on demand.
Welcome to Omni Sport.